welcome to the Sunday Night hanging right here on, Sunday. Well, unless you're over on the other side of the world where it's already Monday, which, happy Monday, morning hang, coffee time with Ben and Trev.
No. To all of our Sydney friends.
All of our Sydney and Melbourne and...
Melbourne.
That's it. Yeah, just the two. Nobody else likes us in Australia. Anyways, yeah, we're hanging out. We're going to talk music. We're going to talk amplifications with our in-house amp person, because he doesn't like expert or guru. So person.
Yeah.
Our good friend Jim. You might know him from the Water Buffalo meetings as Jim. Or from the chats as Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Look at this. I even got my Marshall shirt. Pure accident, too.
Yay!
Dig it.
All right, who do we got? We already got a bunch of people in the chat. Let's see, who do we got in here first? We got Billy Baloney and a stupid number. Awesome.
Hi,
and Michael Krause with a number. Eston Ray with a number. L Bar J, our newest patron on the channel.
Ooh,
right on.
Terry's 3Gs. Offbeat Bass Gear. What is that? Dark Rob? Good to see. Rob's here. He's fighting a cold, apparently. We got Hit Metalworks here. We got the voice of Cornhole. What's up, Donnie? Great to see you. Blue Mox. We left Blue Mox everywhere. Lawn Dog 7554. What's up, Lon?
You can ask questions about Mesa Boogie all you want, Chris. You'll get the usual answer.
Yeah, Chris trying to troll. Wow. Dr. Kramer 316. Stephen Douglas OD'd. What? All right. Who else we got here? They're all talking to each other. There's Matt from McCullough Music. Richard Negamitsu. Wow, Unfucking Believable is here. Ferd Burfel is here. I'm caught up. And just like that. Perfect. Wow. Great time for my back. I'm still battling at bad backs, folks. Ow. And, so we'll persevere and carry on. And I have a handheld forest fire. Compliments of Absolute Mayhem. He stopped by today. It dropped off.
Hey, you got tickets for Gary Hoey's Hoey tour.
Nice.
You ever seen Gary Hoey?
I have not. Well, I've seen him in videos.
Yeah.
Question is, has he seen me? The answer is also.
I think he's a follower of your channel. He's one of those.
He probably is.
People.
One of those lurkers.
A lurker. He won't subscribe. He just doesn't.
Wayne McConnell.
He doesn't want the press.
Lon says, "Yeah, YouTube added those numbers. Yeah, your classic. Well, you screen name and handle. Yeah, you can rename it if you go into your channel settings thing. I can't remember where. Lifestyle choices, but you can change it." Michael Chris says, "Hoey just had a clinic here and he missed it."
Oh, bummer.
That sounds like a successful clinic for him then.
He's an amazing player. I saw him on the Hoey tour maybe 6-7 years ago. Fantastic player.
Nice.
I've always been kind of a fan. I don't like Christmas music, but I can live with the way he approaches it. He's not really playing Christmas music. He's playing metal with Christmas band.
I'm very selective with my Christmas music as well. Like, I like the Tom Petty Christmas song. I like, Motorhead's cover of Run Run Rudolph. That's pretty much it.
No Mistress for Christmas from.
Well, I suppose Mistress for Christmas. I was just looking at that the other day.
So, but he does other things in those shows besides
right on.
Just Christmas music. I've got a signed set list from the last time I saw him.
Oh, we have a legitimate question after we say hey to Guitar Man 45 in here. So he was seeing our friend Sammy Bowler play on Friday night. Chris asked, nope, serious question. Any experience with the PV Windsor?
I've never owned a single PV amp.
What's that?
My opinion of PV is they built gear to last a lifetime. It's reliable as hell. It's got the Fender philosophy where they build it to take abuse and keep on ticking.
Lee says,
what would you like to know about the Fender Windsor? I could look or the.
He's like, just any experience with it. It's a reportedly great sounding amp.
I've never owned a PV amp.
Lee says, just a few Christian songs I like. I mean Christmas. No, I'm the same way. Just a few Christian songs I like. Eddie Faye's here. Munch Michelli's here.
Munch.
Nice.
You know, the stuff they made in the 80s is probably your best choice. The 90s, they started losing some quality. They were trying to save money, which was probably a bad choice.
Mm.
Hey, if it's good enough for Leonard Skinner, it's good enough for me.
Plus, yeah, I just think of all the Nashville backlines filled with PV in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like every time you tune into Nashville tonight, there's the whole backline, all PV.
It sounds good. I mean, especially if you're more toward the clean tone. And about the only PVs that I'd recommend for a dirty tone would probably be the 5150 amps.
Mm-hmm. Long Dog asks, that's a good question. What brands of gear do you find the most durable, especially things where you're moving sliders and knobs constantly? Your input could be helpful. Trainer amps are built pretty bulletproof. There's literally Pete Trainer throwing at one of his amp heads out of a second-story window, and they just retubed it because the tubes broke loose, but they just retubed it. The chassis, or not the chassis, but the casing was kind of fucked up. But guess what? Just they threw it out of a second-story commercial window onto a sidewalk, and it worked.
You know, Fender amp from the golden era was all built sturdy as hell.
There's that, man.
That was Fender's whole philosophy, is it has to be able to take the abuse.
Yep.
Now, when you start getting into the second era Fender, where they started building amps through Rivera era, they're durable, but they just don't sound as good.
Yeah, because that was kind of BV's model, right? An affordable amp for the gigging musician.
Yeah.
That sounded good, was durable. Much like, again, Trainer in Canada. Same idea. They wanted something that was affordable for the gigging musician that held up to be thrown in and out of a van every night.
You know, Matchless made strong amps, but they're not exactly affordable. Bad Cat makes killer amps and, built like a tank. You know, I have a hard time unless you're going to be shopping for Gorilla amp or something like that. Most of them build equipment that was made for a gigging musician to hold up. It was just a matter of whether the circuitry was really good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend a thing like a Bugera or a Black Star. I don't think they're built to a standard that, you would expect in durability. Certainly none of the electrical components are built to that standard. So you'd probably have scratchy pots after a while.
Mm-hmm. What's up, Joe?
Old Marshall was built strong. Modern Marshall, anything after the JCM 900 was probably going to be iffy at best, unless you're boutique amps, whatever those striped ones are, or they're hand built.
Carvin were always well built, Chris. I was already thinking that Carvin amps were. I remember.
Yeah,
that was one of the things you had, like road tested Carvin amps.
I tend to consider Carvin to be a boutique amp because you always ordered them to build. You
What's up, Zach Thong?
Carvin off the shelf.
What is that?
Yeah, I'm doing the smaller pre-roll Mayhem, and the banana stuff's already. I tried it; it's good. The Keith pressed is good. So far, so good.
Yeah.
Mayhem dropped off a package, folks, and if you'd like to see exactly what it is, become a channel member or a patron, and it'll be in part of the year-end highlight reel of the year because I shot a little thing.
There were a couple of good crate amps. The Blue Voodoo was a good amp.
Mm-hmm.
But crate was not what was kind of like all the other junk amps out there. They were just built to a price.
Long Dog says, Orange amps, what do you think about the sound characteristics of those amps? Talking generality, approve or disapprove. Orange amps are a great built amp. They sound like an Orange. They have a unique sound. If you want to go for that sound, great. But don't buy an Orange and expect it to sound like a Marshall.
Jimmy Page actually used an Orange amp on his Theremin. Most people don't realize that.
Yeah. Lots of Oranges were used. What was I watching? Bad Company.
And before that,
had a Marshall
Orange,
and an
there
Orange.
were a company called Matt Amp, and if you can find any of those are really, really good amps. I think they're reissuing them now, but they're not the same as the original Matt Amp. MATAMP, Matt Amp, I think it's called. They became orange.
Yeah, Friedman and Headfirst are the best. Well, they're also modded Marshalls, like as opposed to an actual amp company coming up with their own design. That's like, say, a Sir makes the best Strat. Well, they make a very hot-rodded Strat, very refined. So I will say they're great amps, but
I'd love to have a Friedman. I just can't afford one.
Yeah, they're ridiculously expensive.
$3,000 for an amp's pretty pricey.
Chris is still thinking of getting a Hughes and Kettner or a Steve Morse. Well, you do that. Just don't ask anybody.
I like the sound of Hughes and Kettner. The problem is they're very difficult to fix because they put so much shit in such a small package. It's kind of like modern Mesa Boogie, where they've just taken everything and engineered it to fit in a little tiny box, and you can't get to it. It's all surface mount. It's got all kinds of bizarre circuits that,
What's up, Cousin Doug?
So,
Mayhem asked, how much difference does the speaker make on an amp? Or is it the magic in the amp itself? Oh, speaker makes a huge difference.
Speakers make a difference in the tone, makes a difference in the volume of an amp.
Mm-hmm.
You can take a very efficient speaker and get a lot more sound out of a 15-watt amp than you'll ever believe.
Yep.
And speakers have a curve, a tonal curve to them. It accents some frequencies and attenuates others. So the speaker makes a huge difference in what your amp's going to sound like.
Mm-hmm. I understand that Joe mentions quality control, so he'll pay the money for like a Friedman or a Headfirst. I've never had a problem with an amp. Period.
I've
never had an amp break down on me.
I love owning a Friedman. Friedman makes a quality amp, and he's making it in California. I mean, that's going to be expensive.
Well, and the customer service is unmatched too. I mean, we're sending emails to the guy every week about what about this, what about that, try this, try that, all kinds of different setting suggestions and stuff. So,
Dave Friedman's an amp guru. He puts me to shame. He's probably forgotten more stuff than I ever learned.
Right. A tough question here, Trev.
Hmm?
So are you holding up Marshall amps as the standard for sound quality, or can you describe the sound you're looking for the music you guys play? Well, I play a lot of different music. So for me, when it comes to an amp, I just use it purely to amplify, like a clean pedal platform.
Yeah. FR for amplification.
Yeah, pretty much. And there is a different, if you're going for like guys that use amps to drive their signal, yeah, Marshall would be the standard. But then again, we're not even talking modern Marshalls because everyone wants something that's a 900 or earlier anyways. And so now we're talking 20, 30-year-old amps at the minimum. But nobody talks about that.
He used to use preamps and all Macintosh power amps.
Right.
Go figure.
What's up, Marcia Murray?
And then we got somebody like the guy from Chicago. He used a fucking Sears radio receiver as his amp.
Yep.
Terry Kath had the cheapest amplification, and he wouldn't let anybody touch it. It was so bad he had to surround it with a cage of chicken wire to keep it from getting interference.
His own fucking Faraday cage.
Yeah, he built a Faraday cage around his cheapo amp. Eventually, he changed it by, Chicago 5 or somewhere in the late 70s, just before he passed. But yeah, for a long time, he used just a cheap Sears receiver for his amp.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking, I'd love to go, boutique heads like Joe's mentioning, but I also run stereo. And, Trev, isn't a Friedman pushing $5,000 Canadian just for the head, and we haven't even got a cab to plug it into yet?
Well, that's for the big 100s.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, you can get a JJ Junior.
They're still $3.
It's probably $3,000.
So then I'm looking,
or like a Pink Taco, or one of the smaller.
Mark Taft in the house. Just saying.
The thing with the one like John had there, the deluxe, is it's got so many switches and options and things in it that it's really like 3 amps in one.
It was a 3-channel amp. Well, even I think his Headfirst is a 3-channel as well, plus with all the options.
Oh, more than that with the MIDI. Yeah, John can get 12 different sounds just pushing buttons at his feet.
Ooh, which amp under 2,500 would you buy not used? well, 2,500 US. All right, I'll go back to a JJ, Chris. Like,
Yeah.
if I had to buy an amp head and we got 25 US to spend, I'm buying a JJ Junior.
What amp would I buy under 2,500 not used?
Yeah.
Well, that's hard to say because just about every amp's hit 2,500 with all the tariffs and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think a nice bad cat, a small bad cat would be good.
I might lean into an EVH. That's pretty
I
good
could
bang
do that.
for the buck in that price
Some
point.
of the reissues Fender are making, like those Princetons, the Deluxe. I think those are great amps for the money right now, and they're well built.
Yep.
Even though they're coming out of Ensenada, Mexico, they're still
What am I
really
running? Oh, I'm running over cables. That's what it is. There we go.
But
and
not used is kind of tricky in today's world. Right? Brand new stuff is so
surprisingly,
expensive.
you know, if you get a good deal, you can get an Angle or what's the one that Tony Iommi used?
Oh yeah.
Shoot,
Great sounding amps.
you can get some of those for a pretty good price too.
Richard Yangamitsu likes his basement amps for pedals. Definitely. Generally, if I grab a twin, I use the basement channel. Because I never remember what the other side is anyways, so I just use the basement channel. Never a modeling amp, Eddie Fay. Never.
Modeling has a place. I mean, it
does, just not here.
I don't know if you guys follow John Wesley. Do you know who John Wesley is?
Vaguely.
He played with like Porcupine Tree and that kind of those kind of bands. He opened up a lot for Marillion. But now he's playing with a band called Vertical Smile and Vertical Horizons, excuse me, and
same thing.
pretty close. There is a band called Vertical Smile somewhere.
I bet there fucking is.
Always
want to try a high watt, Lee. That's on my list.
Yeah, but a high watt, you're back up to $3,000 again. You know.
I know, but they make smaller high watts. So maybe a lunchbox high watt of some kind.
So a low watt high watt.
Well, yeah, a lot. Especially after watching that Neil Schoen interview with Beato, how like all those albums he was using high watts to get that tone. And I'm like, damn, now I gotta check that out.
Dr. Z makes a fine amp, but again, you're in the boutique category.
Yeah. Same as Milkman amps.
Yeah.
For me, under $1,000, I'm laughing.
The best solid state amps in the business.
Sup, Blackjack Guitar. By the way.
Cheers.
The first event I ever went to at Cosmo Music Fest in 2018, all the booths had Milkman amps for testing out pedals and stuff. I was like, well, that's not fair. Of course the pedal's going to sound good. You put it through a Milkman. Or like when I was in the Keeley booth, I'm playing a fucking Duesenberg, trying Keeley pedals into a Milkman amp. The tone was
$10,000 rig.
right? And then Robert Keeley himself twisted knobs to dial you in that much more. And I'm just like, yep. Life could not get better than this.
Yeah.
The old Sovtex Blue Mox. Yep.
I think
Sure, Josh got it.
I was a little disappointed in the 20-watt Marshalls. I just don't think that they're built to a good enough standard.
JCM 950 watts got the switch to make it 25. Just saying, it was $600 out the door, $300 for the cab. I'm under.
Those days are gone, Trev. You're not finding one of them for $600 unless it's a basket case nowadays.
Fair. Yeah, I didn't lose money on that one. That was a good score.
Fuck no.
My problem with post 90s Marshalls has always been quality.
Yeah.
They just are not building a quality amp.
I played through a JCM 3000.
Pretty well.
Not a fan.
Not being hauled around.
Not that they're terrible. I mean, it's not like they're dark, Black Star amp or something built just to a price.
The new Black Star stuff isn't sounding too shabby. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't think Black Star sounds bad. I just think it's not built well.
Yeah.
It's got a bad case of Chinesium in it.
Right.
Every component, if you open up a Black Star amp, is the cheapest possible component they could buy.
Right.
And while that may make an amp that sounds okay, it doesn't make an amp that's durable.
Yeah.
And last thing
Which is okay if it's sitting on a shelf in your home space.
Perfect.
Not moving it around. It's the moving it around and the transporting it. Oh, just hit a pothole.
Things
right? Hopefully, years past, you hit a pothole, you're like, oh, better check the tubes, make sure one didn't slide loose. Whereas there, you're like, I hope I didn't crack a circuit board.
Right.
Yeah. And you look at the circuit boards, they're thin and you know,
thin.
they're not well built. Yeah. And that's what Marshall was doing for a while. I'm hoping that when they got taken over that maybe they'll start putting a little more quality into their product. But so far I haven't looked inside a recent Marshall build, so I don't know.
Eston Ray had a 100-watt high watt. He regrets getting rid of. I bet you do. And yes, it is comical to see how many tubes are in a triple rectifier. All the tubes, if you're wondering, folks.
Why? I just don't get the triple rectifier thing.
There's got to be 18 tubes or something. It might not be that many, but damn near. And you're like, does it have one of those 6-tube trim systems in it? Like, why all the tubes?
Well, it's basically a 3-channel amp with 150 watts output. I mean, but who needs it? I mean, where do you use such an amp these days?
90s bands.
Okay, but how many places do you have to crank an amp to 150 watts?
Outside of spring break where you're doing your 90s night for spring break.
Of course, one has to take into account.
Everybody is, Chris.
How the amp is.
Jam is the epicenter of amp.
I'm sure they are.
Offshoring.
Chris. I'm sure that most of that stuff's coming out of Vietnam.
Yeah. Okay. Here's breaking news, folks. Zach Thong comments at the 2018 Cosmo event that I was at. He was there as well. He says, "I spent my time that day upstairs in the Taylor and Martin rooms." No shit. Mark Spurgeon's here.
Cool.
You know, nowadays, if you ask me, I think a 50-watt amp's kind of the sweet spot.
Yeah.
It's strong enough to play on stage. It's light enough to carry.
I think that DSL-20 would just keep up with the drummer. Just. And I think, Shanahan had the same opinion before he got rid of it to me, and he wanted it back ever. So you want to get rid of it back? Actually, I want more of the 212 cab than the head. I'm like, nope. Because I know how rare a Marshall 212 cab is.
Yeah, it costs more than the 412s.
Yeah. But I do want to replace that head. And then I want to replace the Blues Deluxe with a Princeton. So I don't need 40 watts aimed at my head.
Assuming that you've got a good set of tubes and they're well matched and the bias is done within a reasonable spec and you're not pushing it and diming it every day, let's say, it's the sweet spot around 7.
Sure.
That's got to have some effect on the reliability. I think a lot of the amps blowing up is when people aren't paying attention to the details and they're making them try to do things they're not supposed to do, right?
Like the days of, it used to be, and Jim knows this, like through the 80s, it was like, oh yeah, you got to retube your amp every 2 to 3 years if you're gigging. Why? Because they never bothered biasing anything, so it's out of whack, and it's hard on the amp, it's hard on the tubes. So yeah, you lose longevity. But if just like a car, you fine-tune that engine.
Yeah. Balanced and blueprinted, it's not going to blow up if you run
all the mileage. Yeah, it's going to run forever.
If you go back to the 1970s, nobody was talking about tube matching and biasing both tubes for optimal performance. Nobody did that shit.
Right.
Look at the amps. Where were you going to do that? There wasn't even the facility on those amps to do that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, that was the funny thing is the amps couldn't really be tuned at all for the tube, but the tubes were built to a closer spec than they are now.
Oh, the tubes.
And now the tubes are more out of spec, but the amps are able to be fine tuned.
That's not a incongruity. That's why they're doing it, because once tubes went away back around 1980, they started making fewer and fewer tubes to worse and worse standards. I mean,
Yeah.
almost everything you see coming out nowadays is either coming out of China or Russia. Nobody's making tubes anywhere else.
Yeah.
You can buy some custom tubes that are being built elsewhere, like the high-end stereo audiophile triodes. And stuff.
Yeah, there is American manufacturing of vacuum tubes, but you're going to have to pay 10 times the price to get one.
Yeah.
And tubes are already expensive if you haven't noticed, folks. Like,
remember who was it that was talking about opening up a new tube factory in the United States? They got everybody all worked up on it, and they haven't heard a peep about it since.
If any, I would assume that'd be Mike Matthews, just because he's had the history.
No, it was one of the big manufacturers.
Like GE or something like that?
Yeah, or RCA or one of those guys was talking about opening up a new tube factory, and everybody got
He's
all
like, where? First of all, where are you going to open that dirty-ass factory? Because you think shooting nitro is bad for the environment, folks. Try making a vacuum tube.
Yeah, it's all covered, all got barium in there for the
It's
gas.
it's like you might as well have an open pit mine going right next
In another 20 years, they'll be making it up on the ISS. You just do it outside in the vacuum of space, so it's easy, right?
Western Electric, yeah, that's
out there. We just call them tubes. The vacuum is inferred.
yeah, it was Western Electric. Yeah, that's who was talking.
Right.
But I haven't heard anything. That
Fuck
was
no.
4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Who's going to pay $100 for a single tube? Right.
Well, if that's the only tube you can get.
That's true. Again, I've never had a problem with worn out tubes. But then again, is it like all of a sudden I retube the amp, Trev, and all of a sudden I'm like, whoa!
Right.
I don't remember. Oh, yeah, you sound like that 10 years ago when I first got it. But it's so slow.
It's like the frog in a pot of water, right? You get used to your environment until you're dead.
Yeah.
Eddie Faye, if you want to get into tube manufacturing, you get to move to Russia.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go to Russia right now.
No. There was one somewhere in the former Yugoslavia as well.
Yeah, the JJ used to be made in Yugoslavia. JJ, I think they're still making tubes, but they're not making what they once were. They used to make all kinds of stuff, but now it's just a couple things. And they've been real spotty. They run, and then they're not running, and then you can get them, and then you can't get them. Mike Matthews is really the only one who went in and bought up all those Russian plants that made tubes and brought them over to the United States. And they did reopen the Chinese plant finally after it burnt to the ground.
They knew there's a market for it.
There's a lot of money in tubes if you can make a decent tube.
So is the instrument you're playing, guitar, have the greatest influence on the sound you're trying to achieve, or is it the amp? Amps do influence the sound characteristics, your thoughts. Both. It's all recipe. That's like you're making a vegetable soup and you're going to signal out one ingredient. You can't really say that's what makes it the soup. It's a combination of things. And there's something about a Gibson into a Fender amp, or any non-Fender into a Fender amp, and then there's something about a Fender into a Vox amp.
Well, I mean, it depends. Are you talking playing a cheap guitar into a Friedman? Well, then probably a Friedman's going to be your.
Am I using that amp as a pedal platform? Am I using it?
Are you playing clean?
For all my tone, like just guitar, direct amp. That's it. Because if so, I'm going to be leaning on a decent guitar. First of all,
A lot of it.
Eddie Van Haskell, what's up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you want to look at. Here's an example. Look at what Eddie Van Halen did.
Right.
Frankenstein was a piece of shit.
Right.
Yeah. What's up, Trey?
Frankenstein guitar was junk. It was a seconds body with multiple necks thrown on it, a pickup that didn't work, a quarter holding down his tremolo bar. It was a piece of junk.
The bridge that was mounted in the wrong location to begin with, so you couldn't intonate the guitar.
So where did that sound come from? Did it come from his amps? Did it come from his guitar? Did it come from
I revert back to the how many times have you heard, hey, I got to play through such and such's rig. Yeah, how'd you sound? Like me. Yeah, it's your hands.
Yeah,
pick attack.
Eddie's rig.
Your hands. The pick attack is
just like
the most crucial. Because you know, Trev, some people that can mimic that pick attack, all of a sudden they'll do a shuffle. Like Pete Thorne's good at it, like to mimic Eddie's rhythm sound because you have to attack in a certain way.
Yeah, and that's his hands. That's not the guitar he's playing or the amp he's playing. He's putting in the hours to learn how to play it like that. You look at Dimebag, right? With a Randall amp. Nobody wants a Randall amp, and Dean guitars weren't renowned for being awesome. But he put in the hours and put in the knob, and he got his sound to come out the way he wanted, and it kicked ass.
Like a lot of our favorite bands played Dean's back to the day. Why? Because they couldn't afford a Gibson at the time.
Yeah. Now those Dean Cadillacs are worth a fortune.
I do have a soft spot for a Dean Cadillac because they are ugly as sin. Eddie Face says, "Come on, Ben. We know you want a first act style telly." I do. I play guitars, not toys. Ow.
My quintessential sound is the Les Paul into a JCM 800. Straight in, that just turned up loud. That's that golden tone for me.
Right. Now that said, a lot of my pedals are mimicking amplifiers, right? What's up, Eric? Orange Micro Dark into a 112 Marshall and a Dynacomp here. Nice.
Okay, that sounds cool.
Yep.
Solid state amp for road gigging that's not a Fender or Marshall.
A solid amp for road gigging that's not a Fender.
What's that big company that's making all those?
Vox.
No, there's one company that makes just solid state stuff.
Okay.
Oh shit.
Well, he doesn't say solid state, just a solid amp.
Oh, solid amp. Okay,
Yeah.
for road gigging that's not a Fender or Marshall.
That's why I went Vox.
You're talking? Can I go boutique? I would have to say the modern Soldanos are probably my favorite. Great road amp.
It doesn't suck.
I've only ever played one, and I'm good. I played the one. Well, there's a handful of
filter, yeah,
Soldanos, Brev. You know, like there'd be Eddie's Soldano, there'd be Clapton's Soldano.
Right.
You know, for instance.
You know, if you're looking for something that's going to be a tank that sounds good, Quilter is hard to beat.
Yep.
But they're not cheap.
Fuck. I want to go to Zach's school. High school I went to had a Fender Princeton amp that allowed me to use it anytime I had electric guitar in school. Fun times using that amp. No kidding.
Yes, I
really
like
not worked at all.
You can get just about anything you need out of a Soldano, and they're built fantastic.
Hey, Lamb. He says that's why
it's not a Fender, it's not a Marshall, it's not a Mesa Boogie.
I'm gonna disagree. Chet used some compression, but not a lot. Not like fucking Brad Paisley or later. You know, the chicken pickers later.
Mm.
He had more of a balanced jazzy tone. Now I run a compressor all the time, but you don't really notice it unless I play absolutely clean. You'll hear a slight quackiness, as it were, you know, to mimic the sound of a compressor.
Well,
but
compressors can help in certain types of music.
Yeah, and good enough for Alex Lifeson for an always on
piece.
That's the way I see it. When I saw Alex Lifeson's board, and right at the start, he had a diamond compressor, always on. I'm like, well, you know, good enough for Alex, good enough for me. So it's the only thing we agree on.
You know, if you know how a compressor works, it's actually a form of distortion, and you can use it that way.
Yeah, it's a gain stage.
Like turning your compressors way up, you get distortion out of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I use it to push the other pedals as well.
You take it as a limiter, and it's basically, you know, if you don't do depends on how you're doing it.
Oh,
you know,
I'm well aware, Joe, of head first
your
amp.
highs and not bringing your lows up, so it's just acting as a brick wall limiter. Well, what is that? That's a fuzz pedal.
Hip asks, what has Matchless been up to? Don't hear about them much these days. I'm pretty sure they've been out of business for a few years now.
Yeah, they went out of business about 5 years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Which is, some people have been trying to revive them, but I don't think that's happened yet.
Right.
And back to Joe's comment.
If you're interested in Matchless, look into Bad Cat. They're basically a Matchless clone company.
was gonna say
personal experience. I mean, John DeShane went from the Friedman 100 Deluxe to the Sir, right? That he had for a minute, but it was way too much plexi, and it did what it did very well, but it didn't do much else, right?
Right. Well, yeah. Well, that's on him.
Now he's got that head first, and boy, that thing in the room, it just
like if he was to go Sir, I would have recommend him get a PT 100 as opposed to the SL 68.
Right. Which was surprised
they have that and other stuff. Right.
Surprised John didn't actually go that route, being the Pete Thorne fan.
Other than what Pete's played, I've never touched a Sir amp. I'd like to.
I played. Is it the Ombre that he brought out in 2020? That's supposed to sound like a little Fender amp, like the little Billy Gibbons Fender amp, something like that. So, because I tried it at NAMM, it was funny. Trevor, I went to grab a guitar and it had a little security thing on it, and I went, "Oh." Because I'm just used to going in any booth, and you can play any guitar in any booth. I'm like, not Sir Bubbaloo. I'm like, oh. And I'm like, oh. And I'm sorry. And I turned, it was John Sir himself. He's like, can I help you? And I'm like, it was Pete's new signature guitar, so I want to try it out, so give feedback. He's like, and you are? I'm like, oh. And that's the only time I ever dropped. I'm like, I moderate his live streams. And John's like, oh, okay. Because, he's seen the wrench. And here, try it out. Like, yay. And then he stood there, and then I had to play guitar in front of John Sir. So I played it for about 93 seconds, Trev.
Right. Yeah, that's great, eh? It's a beauty.
Yep. Thanks. Oh, beauty. Yeah, go through the control. Yeah, I can't really hear it. It's a loud trade show. Thanks anyways. Thanks.
When you go to trade shows, it's really not about hearing guitars and that. It's more about the feel.
Yeah. Well, and I kind of wanted to hear what that amp sounded like. Yeah, Brown Face Deluxe.
I've never heard of Silk Tone amps. Michael, tell me about them.
Tone. Terry says my problem is solid state or two.
Why get a monoprice tube amp? Laney's pretty cheap as it is. I mean, my buddy just bought a Laney Fireball for like $1,400.
There are some good solid state amps, Terry, but I always lean towards tube. It has a warmth that you just don't get with solid state. Only bias, but
I've never got. When I first played a tube amp, I fell in love. It just had a sound that nothing else that a solid state amp doesn't have.
Especially when
that solid state can't sound good.
You start pushing that power section, and you get that little bit of sag. I mean, it's kind of got this organicness to it.
Right? Yeah, it does these overtones that you don't get with a solid state. Trans tube, Terry. Again, though, it's a hybrid. It's not true. It's it's a combination.
With the EMGs, with the afterburner engaged, the 10 dB boost into that valve state 20 that I have, it just goes. We did not like those big square waves.
No,
Chris, I've never worked on a Blackheart. I've played a couple in the music stores, but again, I don't know how reliable are they. Nobody's ever brought one to me.
Right. What's up, Justin Cox? He says, old Gibson amps. Yeah, Jim has some.
I love them. I got two.
For solid state, Roland Jazz Chorus are great for clean tones. Yes, but fun fact, I learned a lot about them recently when a guy was returning one to Long and McQuaid. Unless you get the 120, the lesser ones, the chorus is an analog. It's a digital modeler chorus. It's way different. And it sounds way shittier. So if you buy a Roland, you got to buy the 120. It's the only one they still do, or buy a vintage one. Good luck, but good luck finding a vintage one, Trev. Because why? Because they all still work, and everybody's like, "Yeah, I'll snag one and put it in the corner, and it does the thing when I need it to do the thing." And
yeah, I can understand that, Terry. The problem is you're in the minority. Most people want something to keep up with a drummer.
Make their ears ring.
And I'll tell you what, if you get in a band room where you're playing with other people,
pants shaking,
10 watts is just not going to do it. You just can't keep up.
Yeah. Yeah, something about pants shaking volume. Cool.
Right. Now, aren't those?
I like it when you're in the band room and the sound originates inside your head. It's so loud.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, it's like, yeah, like you'll notice me like on a Monday. I'm like, at first I'll start playing. I'm like, whoa, that's loud. But then I'll start playing. I'm like, that's not so loud. And then I'll juice it up a little more towards the end of the show, just because all of a sudden the speakers start to move a bit, and then it just sounds better. There's no other way to describe it. It just sounds better. Oh, I've had tinnitus, Terry, for 35 years myself.
Perfect world.
Wait through it.
Those mono prices, Michael, are they making those in Vietnam too?
Guaranteed.
I don't know anything about mono price amps. This is the first time I've heard of them.
Joe says, what's the difference with solid state and IR? Nothing really, except they have IRs. Well, that's an impulse response, which is purely digital. Solid state is still analog, just using transistors instead of vacuum tubes, essentially. Right, Jim? That's the big difference between solid state and tube.
Yeah.
Is the transistor replacing a vacuum tube, but then IRs, that's purely digital. So that's code. That's a mathematical equation.
It's really emulating an EQ curve that every amp has its own unique EQ curve. Mm-hmm. And all they're doing is running. If you look at how the modeling's done, they take a tone sweep from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, and they figure out how the amp responds to every frequency, and then they make that model do the exact same thing. So it sounds like the same amp.
Eddie Face says, if you have tinnitus, how can you hear the difference in these amps? Quite fine. It's just the slight ringing in my ear.
Shit that you can afford and play the hell out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, for tinnitus, it's not like it's a ringing that drowns out everything in life. Like, it's a slight ringing in my ears at all times, 24/7. I mean, I can still hear amps and everything else and hold a conversation, you know.
Have you ever noticed that famous guitarists, as they get older, play brighter and brighter?
Yep. Because they can't hear those frequencies anymore.
Yeah. And they can't hear those tones up there, so they don't know that their amp's doing that.
Joe, pedals are basically solid state. Some, yes. Analog pedals, yes. Digital pedals, no, because digital is literally, it's a mathematical equation representing a recreation. It's like modeling. It's a recreation of an analog circuit.
They all have their place. There are some times where,
and like I know, as much as I detest anything digital, Trev, I know for a fact I have a couple digital pedals on my board, but they integrate or they interface completely analog. I'm talking about Keeley, Halo, and Hydra, because I like the sound of a plate reverb, and I don't have I do have the room for a plate reverb, but it's not practical to have an actual plate reverb in my signal chain. Always yes, Trev. Chris is asking master volume or not, and why? That's a silly question.
What a master volume amp does is it allows you to generate your distortion in the preamp.
Yep.
And without a master volume, you're starting, as your preamp gets louder, it starts pushing the power amp distortion. Most people these days don't know what power amp distortion sounds like because almost everything's a master volume. I prefer a non-master, and then just get your distortion by pushing the front end of the amp with a pedal. So I'd say non-master.
Oh. What's up, Milt? Good to see you. You see him over in the Pete Thorne chat as well. Rock on.
Well, how tubes work are kind of really strange. There's a whole thing about how the electrons cross the vacuum gap and how they arrive at the plate that has that can't be duplicated by a transistor very well. So if you're talking two circuits that are pretty much the same, except one's uses vacuum tube and one uses a transistor, they're going to sound vastly different, and because of the way they work. And when you get into distortion characteristics, transistors do not distort pretty. They have really bad frequencies and harmonics that are generated, whereas a tube amp the distortion generated is usually a little more pleasing to the ears. Some people say it's second order harmonics. I don't know if that's all of it, but that there's just I believe tubes generate harmonics in the amplifier that are much more pleasing than transistors. Just my opinion. No, electrons don't know the difference, but the devices function substantially.
Fucking ears do. The feel. There's a feel.
You know, most people don't understand how hearing is really working. You know, when we hear, let's take a synthesizer, for example.
Sure.
A synthesizer works through subtractive synthesis. It takes frequencies out. You start out with a square wave. A square wave is full of all kinds of different frequencies. And you use a filter to remove those frequencies that you don't like. So, you know, that's how the ears actually hear things. We hear all those frequencies. It's not just a square wave we're hearing. We hear all the frequencies that make a square wave. It's hard to, I don't know how else to describe it. Our ears are actually hearing what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting when you get oscilloscopes involved. Not to get overly nerdy, but it's not like we haven't done that before on this channel. But it's interesting to see different wave patterns. And
I mean, I could talk about Fourier series and how you add all different sine waves together to come up with to create a square wave.
mm-hmm.
And it would, you know, if you see the math and understand the math, it makes sense. But you actually hear it. That's why a square wave sounds so bright and shrill, because it's got all those high harmonics in it. And as you remove those harmonics, guess what the wave turns into? A sine wave. Just how it works.
Yeah. I remember, and I wish I still had the article. There was an article I read back in the 90s, and a guy ran a stereo rig, one tube amp, and one solid state amp. And it was something that he had believed, like, tubes broadcast on odd frequencies and solid state broadcast on even frequencies. And so by having one of each, and so to have both, you just had fuller sound, in his opinion. And I went, huh. And I always remember that, like, because they do work differently. And I was like, what? And you will hear that.
When you take a sine wave and chop off the top, if you look at it, what are you getting? You're getting a square wave. So what you're hearing, what your ears actually hear, is all those high harmonics going on. That's why a fuzz sounds like it does.
Yeah.
That's why distortion sounds the way it does. Tube distortion, once you take a tube and it can't amplify anymore, it stops amplifying. Except it doesn't chop off the top. It rounds the corners of the square wave, which is a different sound than you get from a transistor, which just lops the top off and generates all that high frequency hash.
Literally the hard clipping and soft clipping.
It's exactly right.
And picked up a thing or two over the years, Trev, you know, having conversations with Jim and Lawrence.
Jason explained it pretty cool one time, too. I mean, just to kind of surmise what he's saying, too, the way that tubes deal with voltage and the amount of voltage that they use versus the way transistors deal with voltage and the amount of voltage that they use. It creates that whole difference in the solid state versus tube amps. And that's what in the preamp section, right? Why would you use tubes instead of diodes, a la JCM 900 or something, right? Because the tubes can deal with higher voltages more efficiently, or something to that extent.
Well, when it comes to amplification, tubes generally create amplification. They're called transconductants. They take voltage and turn it into current.
Right.
Whereas transistors take a voltage change and turns it into a bigger voltage change. So they're working on a different principle to generate power.
Right.
Chris says, is that what creates the subharmonics? We're going deep tonight. I'm just saying. Oh,
boy, that's an interesting question.
Tis.
Yes and no. Generally, subharmonics come from other forms of distortion within the amplifier generated by capacitance and that kind of pieces within the amplifier. Some of it is due to the way it's generating its distortion, but it can't take a frequency and divide it down.
We've been chasing it for 75 years long. Okay, and okay. To my sister.
Right.
Yay! I'm gonna have a quiet van soon. Yay!
Oh, Terry, harmonics are generated by transistors too.
Are MOSFET amps the same as transistors? Yes.
You know, MOSFETs come closest to tubes in their characteristics as far as being a piece of solid state. They still don't respond exactly like a tube does.
No. But I was going to say they do a tubey thing better than any digital recreation or modeler. I had the Marshall. There's a video of it on my channel. The MOSFET. That thing,
absolutely.
Like I just remember playing through it, and Trev, I told Trev, like the first riff I played through it when my buddy got it was Photograph, and it was like, there's the tone. You know, like, damn, okay. I used to love playing through that head and even gigged with it a bit. And it was very 2B, you know, even though it was solid state. And then that's one of the secret sauces is Lawrence's Marshall's in a box style pedals. He uses FET and stacks them and able to create glorious amounts of gain within. I'm not saying the LPD 87 uses 6 FET chips on the green channel, Jim, but 6 FET chips in a fucking pedal is pretty nice. Running at 24 volts.
Nice.
Right? You're like, how does he get all that glorious sustain and the saturation? And it's like that.
Yeah. And field effect transistors respond more tube-like than bijunction transistors. It's just how the characteristics of the device.
I'm seeing a lot of people mentioning how, like, recording, tube amps with a digital DAW, and then or listening through YouTube where it's digitally compressed, blah 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 blah. The tube amp is still it's the foundation of your home, Trev. That's what look at, like, that's the first step. Like, I always say Glenn Fricker when he would don't like totally scoop your sound when recording, because you can't add something later in post that wasn't there to begin with. But you can delete on stuff in post that was there originally. So it's actually good to have a full sound, and then you can contour it in post. Same idea. Like, if you have a good sound to start with, it's like, if you can't get a good sound recorded to begin with, you can put all the post-production on it you want. It's still going to sound like shit, because it's never sounded good in the first place.
Lawn Dog, when it comes to digital recording, you're in a deep in the weeds. Let's stick to analog as much as possible tonight.
Right.
Maybe next time I come on, I can talk more about digital.
I mean, you're recording it through on tape versus, into a computer. Now, there's so much variables.
There's a lot of variables.
I mean, digital recording is a fact of modern life. Get used to it.
And then
tells you they can hear harsh aluminum sound on a CD is selling you snake oil.
Right. And then if you go through the YouTubes, now you've got the YouTube compression of what they're doing to the audio signals that are coming in as well. So it's a whole. You just got to get in a room with a nice big loud amp.
I watched your demo. It sounded like shit. Well, I was watching on my iPhone, not even using earbuds, that tried to at least mimic the full sound spectrum. So I was like, so you're just like had it on speakerphone, and that's how you're going to judge what this product sounds like?
Why do you think hi-fi's dead? Because that's not how people are lit. They're not sitting in front of their hi-fi listening to their best stuff anymore. It's all on the run through their iPhone or compressed digital across
most the people, Jim,
recorded in digital and mashed and rehashed and redigitalized and redact a million times. We don't have hi-fi anymore.
Most. I listen to Anthrax's Among the Living, start to finish today. So, but that was, Trev knows, that was what? Last fall. I'm like, I got to get out my stereo system again. And we're going back to analog. And it's LPs and cassettes. And I'm loving it because there's no skips, no shuffle.
I love CDs, and I'm going to die on that hill. I hate fucking snap, crackle, pop.
Well, I would be listening to my CD collection as well, Jim, but I don't have a working CD player at this moment. So it's only cassettes and LPs until a fellow finally remembers to buy a CD player instead of a new record or something.
To my albums, they sound so great, and I look at them like, no, they don't. They still sound like shit.
Well, that depends, too, though. I mean, my stepdad, he was a huge audiophile with the Macintosh amplifiers, and every album was treated like gold, and he had, I think, the Yamaha turntable and great big electrostat speakers.
15% of your fidelity. And it's just,
that was so good.
Yeah. I mean, good analog systems sound nice.
Yeah.
Most people don't have good analog systems.
No.
They buy records, used records in the record store that are all full of hiss, pop, and crackle.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Do I have a DVD player? I want to say yes, Billy.
I bought one for my new computer. A DVD.
And thank you for that, Billy, because that's a good reminder. Because I believe I do have a DVD player or 5 around here, so that might work.
Yeah, this new DVD player I have on the back, it's got readers for your camera cards, and it's kind of a cool thing. And it only cost me like $20. It's hard to believe.
Bo says 50 watts per channel. My stereo system upstairs is 300 watts a side. It's good. No. We set up for dual stereo, basically, not quadraphonic, just A and B sets of speakers. So I think it was 150 a side, twice over for 600 total.
I've got 5,000 CDs in my collection.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I could, if I started now, I'd die before I got to the other end.
To go into a whole different rabbit hole. What about the degradation of the magnetic signals on those discs? How long are they going to actually archive for? Because they say DVDs, and of course the Blu-rays last longer than a DVD does, and there's different grades for archiving information. What's a standard CD lifespan as far as holding on to its correct information?
Yeah.
The biggest problem the library, the U.S. Library of Congress has is digital loss.
Yeah.
They can't copy all their archives fast enough to prevent it from losing it.
The degradation of the magnetic.
Yes. And even the things that they like, all the pictures and all the scans and everything else, they can't keep up fast enough and new copies of it before they start losing stuff.
It's crazy.
We have libraries for 10,000 years, for 3,000 years, but we can't have a library nowadays without losing things.
Long Dog, one I'll touch on it once is, how do you guys go about recording the music you create? What's the process to use DAW? I don't think Trev records at all at this point in his guitar journey.
If I do, it's just going right into YouTube through the Rodecaster.
And then Jim, do you do much recording at all?
Yes.
Okay.
I use Reaper.
There you go. I don't know. I go to a local studio that I'm affiliated with. He can go, like, I can show up with a completely analog rig, and he can mic my amps, go through a channel strip, and then into his DAW, which is something that I don't even know what it is. Most of the time, I show up with a pedal board, and then he'll do some virtual amp, and I can hear it. It sounds digital, but
there ain't a damn thing I miss being retired, Richard. I have not been happier in my entire life since I've retired. Every day is Saturday. I do what I want.
Krista, so back to why does the Crate amp line get so much hate? Because they're cheaply built, not good sounding, solid state garbage.
And they build it to a price, not to a sound. I mean,
they're basically the Firefly of amps in many ways. Like, That half stack I bought for $35, Trev, because I could buy a half stack for $35, and the going rate was $100 and a quarter for a 412 cab and 130 watt head. Why? Sounds like crap. It's cheaply made.
Their design philosophy was, we need an amp for $200. Okay, let's build an amp that costs $200. We'll give them every feature that they ever dreamed of, so that it'll seem like a great deal, and we'll use the cheapest shit we can do to get to that spot.
Yeah. Like you said earlier in the show, there's a couple outliers, and those were tube amps.
Yeah, the Blue Voodoo.
Yeah, but for the vast majority, they built cheap shit.
They were amps intended for beginning players.
Yeah,
right?
That's what you plug in your Hondo guitar into back in the day, or now a Firefly or your Amazon guitar. You plug it into a crate.
They served a purpose. They just weren't durable. If you wanted, you were just learning to play guitar and needed some amplification, they were great. I mean, we need amps like that. We need simple amps to get people to either decide they're going to play guitar for the rest of their life or not. Not everybody needs a $3,000 Friedman.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes, Lab Series were great amps. The problem is that, Gibson was going through some troubles at the time, and they did not market them very well.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also heavy as a brick.
Yep.
But so were Marshalls at the time.
Yeah, I have no idea what the DAW is that Jason uses. I've asked him before. Hey, there's a Jason, not that Jason, different Jason. Fortunately for me, I was going to set up, Trev knows, I was going to set up an interface system to record here until I ran into my friend Jason Hamilton, who owns Lambert Drive Studios, over at the music store one day. And we started talking. He said, well, we should do something together. I'm like, all right. And then I'm like, well, where do you live? And I looked on the map, and it's right over there. And by right over there, I say, a mile? Maybe. So I just throw my gear in the van over there. He's good at programming digital drums, which is cheaper than hiring a real drummer for a session.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll play the guitars. I'll play the bass. If the bass is a little too much for me to play, he's a more than competent bass player by trade, so that helps.
Reaper was when the guy who designed Winamp sold it out to Windows or whoever bought it. He took the money and started developing Reaper.
Mm-hmm.
It runs on Mac, it runs on Windows, and it runs on Linux. And as a matter of fact, it's got such a small footprint, you can actually put it on a USB key and make it portable. So it's a really good product. And they update it every 2 weeks or so. It's constantly being updated.
Yeah.
It's inexpensive. Even if you're a professional studio, it's only like $200. If you're just a residential guy like me and want to use it, it's $60. And if you just use it on occasion and don't really go to each other and play with it, it's free. Mm-hmm. And they tell you it's free if you're not going to use it heavily. How can you beat that?
Yeah, right. That's what my daughter's used to do all her recording. And there's some Reaper on this computer.
Yeah, it's great. I like it because I can put all my synthesizer VSTs in there, my virtual instruments and that kind of stuff. They make a lot of really cool stuff that fit in DAWs, digital audio workstations.
And there's so much information on the YouTube tutorials how to do stuff and how to use it and figure it out too.
There's channels on YouTube just dedicated to using Reaper.
Right.
Yeah, and I never got into any of that because I didn't have to because I have a friend. That's right over there. So
I have templates set up with all my virtual instruments and a track all set up with a guitar and bass.
Now that I have fiber, I might actually set up an interface, and then I can work remotely with him even. You know what I mean? Because if I have fiber, he's got fiber now too. So
you're welcome, Lon. Highly recommended. Some people, want to do other versions, and there's a lot of other programs. But if you're on a budget, Reaper's impossible to beat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the manual's updated all the time, Monch. They keep it up to date with the current version of the program. I really can't because they're for my VSTs and all that, and you'd have to have pretty much the same setup as I have and the same virtual instruments. I have some things that for guitar that have all the digitals, amp modeling and all that stuff. So I really can't share any of that stuff. I could show you how to do it. It's pretty simple. Yeah, some people like Logic. Some people like, Pro Tools.
I have no idea.
I like Pro Tools, but I don't like their pricing structure.
Right.
I like the fact that I can just say someone can count me in, do my thing. I guess I'm spoiled in the fact that all my recording experience has been with somebody engineering or producing whatever I'm doing. So it's not like I'm counting myself in, Trev, and then boom, and I'll sync it up later, blah, blah, blah. I've never done. I've done recording for other people, and other people have recorded me, but I've never recorded myself ever.
Right.
Hey, Chris, next Buffalo meeting, ask me that question. I'll give you some tips and show you how to create tracks and templates. It's
coming up on the 19th. Set your calendars.
So it's only on Wednesday. Ask me that question again. I don't think this is really a good forum. Half the people would be tuning us out. We'd be down to five watchers.
Ask on Wednesday. Speaking of that, this Wednesday, folks, is a Water Buffalo meeting at 7 p.m. Eastern. What's a Water Buffalo meeting? If you're a channel member or a patron, you have access to a Zoom hang where we hang out and talk about everything but guitars usually.
Twice a month.
Justin Cox asks, anybody watch Rick Beato? Well, he's got 4.5 million subs, so I would say yes, everybody watches Rick.
I was a member on Rick Beato's channel back when he had like 50,000.
Yeah, does great interviews.
He was doing things on whiteboards.
I remember Rick when it was I Go Live and Rick buy my book Beato.
He still sells.
I was like, "Oh, who's this guy? He's got a book, Trev." Ooh, fancy.
That was a bundle.
Some people have online courses. He's got an actual fucking book. What?
I've heard good and bad about it. I'd like to take his ear training course.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think that's the way I could become a much better player.
Well, as someone who hosts a live show that interviews people, I would always love to, be Rick Beato and have the Jimmy Page interview. Yay!
Yeah. Well, Gilmore was a pretty good pin in the hat. Just saying.
Kush woke up. You know what? No. You try. Every once in a while, he'll throw a curveball because it's someone you won't even think of, and then also it was popped up was the John Fogerty interview. I'm like, yes,
that was a good interview.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It was a great interview, and I was like, oh man, okay,
Yeah.
It was one of those things you don't think of until, oh yeah, great, and he's good at that.
Yeah.
The Pat Travers interview.
He's gotten a lot better. He's early on he wouldn't let people talk. He always interrupted. Now he lets people go, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, he's definitely polished his style. As with his lessons too. I mean, 5 years ago when I was just learning, starting out, I found his lessons hard to digest, even his beginner stuff. She kind of already had to have some kind of a working base knowledge of music.
I used to tune in. I'd be lost within 5 minutes.
But I'd stick through it anyways, going for the osmosis information thing. It's going to be in there somewhere in the subconscious.
Well, much like Quentin and Steve Brand do now, they'll cover a diminished whatever.
Yeah.
Rick would go live talking about that stuff, and I would too. I'm like, oh, this will be fun. And I'd be 3 minutes in. I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about. And I have a basic understanding of music theory.
Right.
Like what?
But after now, if I watch those videos now, they make a lot more sense because I've been watching them for 5 years.
Richard, the one thing I used to work a lot, and so there are a lot of things around my house that I just didn't have time to do that I really need to get done. So like right now I'm building shelves down in my basement to store things because I lost my storage space when my daughter moved back in, which not that ended up in a family room. So that's all piled full of crap. So I'm working on getting my house back in order.
Mm-hmm.
The nice thing is some days I feel like it and some days I don't. So I work as I feel like.
Yep. You want to sandwich?
Made a lot of progress so far.
Cool. So Zach Thong says he uses GarageBand himself. That's cool.
If you're on the Apple environment, GarageBand is pretty good, going to say, but you have to be in that whole Apple environment to do that.
Yes. Which because I got PC here, but I do have an iPhone and I have an iPad. So,
when it comes to Rick Beato's lessons, I'm a theory guy. I imagine that.
Yeah.
I when I play, I understand the theory of what I'm playing.
You
the
need
guy
to
I
learn
play
a lot
with
more of
doesn't
that.
know theory at all,
Right.
and he's a better guitar player than I am. But when I say, "Oh, well, I'm playing this is what I'm doing," he looks at me like I'm speaking Swahili.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I want to learn more theory, is just so I can communicate on what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
The vocabulary's there. I just don't know the words.
That's just it. I mean, it's
musically up there. I just don't know. It wasn't until someone who's quite knowledgeable in theory has pointed out a couple times, oh yeah, Ben, you do double stops all the time. I'm like, I've always wanted to do double stops. What are double stops? Until the guy showed me. I'm like, oh, I do that all the time. He goes, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, play two strings at once.
Yeah. I was like, I thought it was a pause. It's got stop right in the fucking name.
No, it's not.
Oh. I thought you play two strings muted, maybe. I don't know.
But I found knowing all the theory really helps me. Like one time I lost a callus on this finger. Mm-hmm. Try playing without a callus on the tip of your third finger.
Right.
It ain't easy. And we were playing, I had a jam session. I had to take every piece of music that we played and translate it into completely different positions so that I didn't need that finger.
Well, that was like when my father had to stop playing. He had cut a nerve in his pinky finger, and he's like, I can't play anymore. I'm like, why? I said, well, which finger did you hurt, Dad? Like, was it your index? Was it your ring? He goes, no, it's my pinky finger. I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself at that time, like, I was Mr. Power Chord, so I was just like, I never used my pinky really. And he's like, I can't find a song where I don't use my pinky finger at least once. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I realized, like, oh, right, you're from the generation that actually plays real fucking chords, including minors and sevenths and stuff as the song permits. Like in most music,
all four.
And you need all four fingers to play any song start to finish. It's like, oh, okay. Yes, the natural number system is it's an economical way of discussing music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
More
being
chord
key
progressions than anything else.
I try and use my pinky as much as possible.
I have to, because my ring finger and middle finger are weak on my left hand due to an injury. So
when I first
start out a song with them, but by the end of it, I'm using these two for a lot of power.
It was interesting watching Tommy play without this part of this finger. Because now your pinky's your third finger, right?
Yep.
That's
when I first started playing guitar as a kid, I had a book, and it said you need to do two things. One, use your pinky because you're going to need it, and two, learn to pick up and down.
Yes.
For a beginning guitarist, that's great advice. Both.
Solid advice for sure.
Yes.
Unless you're going to play Metallica, then you don't.
I still remember that, trying to figure out a Metallica song and forearm cramping up, and my dad's like, why aren't you going back and forth? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, why are you working twice as hard? And then I started doing it. I was like, well, it doesn't sound right though, Dad. Like, I get what he was talking about, but for that specific thing, you have to do.
Yeah, Metallica is all down picked, and there's a sound to that. I mean, it is. It's just, especially that kind of metal. It was all down picked, but I mean, if you play
it's
fast,
a cadence to the playing.
I don't even. I played that way and played long enough. I don't even think about my picking. It just happens.
Mm-hmm. I'll know because all of a sudden that muscle will flare up, which I've always had issues with. And that's why I'm like, where's the wristband? Which I got to get a new wristband because that one is worn the fuck out.
That's okay, Zach. And he's not for everybody. He can be kind of opinionated.
He's only got 4.5 million subs and not 40 million subs.
You know, I'm the same with Phil. I don't watch Phil. I don't hate him. I have nothing against Phil. I just don't watch Phil.
Well, but the thing with Rick is he's got the two kinds of content, right? He's got the educational stuff, and then he's got his interviews, and his interviews are awesome. I mean, some of the talent that he's getting.
That's kind of all I want, especially like, let's look at the top 40 in pop music. I'd rather not.
Yeah, but he brings up some interesting points with how relative music in today's modern age. Yeah. But I mean, I would never go looking for a Nuno Betancourt interview. But the Nuno interview was hilarious. I'm glad I watched it.
Well, especially watching Rick wince at every F-bomb.
Well, and he was so big. You could tell he just burnt a great big fatty.
Eddie Fay, most people would substitute a fifth chord and eliminate that and just use these two fingers to play a I can do that. To play a chord rather than play the full bar chord on the E, the E series. Yes, you do need a pinky to play all that. And the same with the D series and the C series and, the old caged philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing you don't need it for is the A series. I mean, and everybody knows that A series up and down.
Right.
If you don't, I highly suggest that you memorize where all the chords are on the barred A. Oh, this is a D. This is an E.
Well, if Mayhem's still watching, let you know your weed gets a plus. My scissors are all gummed the fuck up. So Ben has some extra hash.
Yes, I agree, Chris. The pinky is key. And I watched my friend solo for years, and he never used his pinky. And he started watching me play, and he goes, "What?" And the light turned on.
Yeah,
but he's a better guitar player than me.
All four fingers whenever possible.
If I lost my pinky finger, I'd have to relearn guitar. That's okay, Michael Krause. You don't have to like Rick Beato.
Well, he said likes interview Beato, and he has gotten kind of cliquey. But I mean, he's
always been
for a living now, and he's trying to keep the channel demonetized so that he can do the stuff without the hassle. And
he's always been kind of cliquey. I know inside baseball knowledge going back 7 years.
My Beato bundle sale's over in 2 days, but it's okay. I'll come back.
What's up, Glenn?
It always comes
back. It's Glenn Michael Thompson, Trev, just so you know.
The nice thing about YouTube these days, there's lots of different guitar channels. When I first came onto YouTube 7 years ago, there were very few.
That's how you end up following me, for fuck's sake. Lack of depth of field.
You were a voice in the wilderness back then.
I was. Still am in many ways. Although, I have to quote like you have the press quotes, Trev. They'll come up for a movie. I could put Michael Nielsen says I'm killing it lately. I don't see it, but he sees it. So, thanks.
Well, what I like about YouTube is that there's the big guys like Beato and some of the big YouTube channels like Pete Thorne, and then there's the smaller YouTube channels that have personality. Steve from Boston, this channel.
I just remember when COVID hit, when all of a sudden everybody's stuck at home, and then every rock star decided to start a YouTube channel. I'm like, fuck all the way off. Some of us are trying to eke out an existence here.
I don't think they hurt you. I think they actually helped you, though, Ben. I think they brought more guitar players into YouTube.
You know what the great thing is? I didn't have to explain how to fucking connect a StreamYard for 20 minutes with a guest.
Right.
And do multiple because after COVID, everybody understood how to hook up a webcam and go to some form of an online video chat,
Zoom or
whether Zoom or Skype or something like this. Or
I think the best thing that happened to the guitar community for on YouTube was Tom Bukovac coming on.
Oh, right. So
I mean, I think he really changed the level of respect guitar players got, because he was really the first true professional who came out and was willing to engage with everybody.
And just put up like stupid little shitty videos like the rest of us do. You know, like, oh, here's my phone, just lean against, and I'm just gonna do whatever and talk into it. There was no production like every other bigger channel did, where they have to. We got lighting, we got.
He's not a Rick Beato.
Yeah, which again, love Rick's style too. Like, holy shit, multi-cam, hour-long interviews with my heroes.
Great audio.
Yay. But on the other hand, Uncle Larry's just like, hey, it's Uncle Larry. I'm talking to my phone, sitting in my kitchen. It's like, okay, then it's just a quick little whatever. What's on his mind?
Yeah,
which I love.
Rick, Bukovac's my favorite guitar channel. Sorry, Ben.
No, that's okay. I get it. He's one of
him
my.
And Pete Thorne are the and your channel are obvious.
I just wish both Pete and Tom would do some tour vlog type videos when they are out on the road. I miss tour vlog videos.
Book did a few when he was with the Jim Irsay band.
Yeah, and a little bit with Aaron Wilson.
Yeah, but Pete, about all you get is little after show or his rig rundown and that kind of stuff.
I thought it was funny what he did, the one where it was there's homeschoolers everywhere, because he was with Ann Wilson and they were like starting their tour, and for some reason it started like in February in fucking Newfoundland. Like they're starting out on the rock. And so it was one of those, they're coming in on a private plane, so everybody hand their passports, forward. So then, because the customs guy will just come on the plane, look at all of them, and he said, so the customs guy comes on, Jim, he's going through, we're like, and didn't say a word, and all of a sudden, Uncle Larry? That's all he said. So, like, we got a homeschooler, folks.
Yeah, we got a homeschooler. I just like listening to that guy play is just phenomenal.
Oh, it just makes me. Yeah, I feel like I gotta go back to square one with it. Yeah, like his chord choicing and the way he's able to play the bass and off himself, in that classic Travis picking style, without it being Travis picking in any way. Right. But that's the best equation I can use where you're playing the bass line with your thumb and pick it off.
Taking advantage of the technique, not the style.
Right.
That's what I figured out about YouTube a long time ago, Lon, was that the interaction, it gives you a chance to talk back to these people and pick their brain or, offer your point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, my whole path, it started for me with the guitar YouTubes. Before the guitar YouTubes, I just watched nonsense and tech channels, mostly computer stuff, or learning stuff, woodworking, or how to clean a carburetor on the big rig, Stratton lawnmower, or whatever.
But, you use it like it's a Google search result. But how do I learn how to
encyclopedia warehouse kind of thing?
Oh, I do that all the time. If there's something I need to know how to do and I never learned, I go out and look it up on YouTube and look at 4 or 5 videos and get an idea what the hell I got to do.
Exactly. And you can find all kinds of stuff, pretty much anything, really. Like change a starter on a 2002 Chevy Cavalier. What?
I looked up the spark plugs on my Chevy Malibu this summer. Right. How do I do this? Oh, you pull off this cable, change the spark. No,
with today's cars, you have to disassemble half the front end to get to a fucking spark plug.
Hence me paying someone else to fix my van these days.
But anyways, Eddie Van Halen passes away, R.I.P. Ed. Yeah. And that day I come home and I'm kind of, damn, that sucks. Not that it was regular rotation, but I always had a high respect for Eddie Van Halen. And then click on the YouTubes and there's the Rick Beato. So I watches this Rick Beato thing and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try and learn to play guitar again. This is for you, Ed. I'll try one more time. Let's get back into it and see what we can do. Because I got the guitar, I got the amps. It's all already there for my daughter, and just always had it. And so I started watching some of the Beato, and then that New Year's he had the Pete Thorne on. Mm-hmm. That would have been the 20 to 21 New Year's Eve. Yep. And I was like, fuck, I really love this Pete Thorne guy. He's from Alberta. I'm from Alberta. He's great guy, and he tends to, really impressive. So, bam, subbed to that guy. Started watching Pete Thorne regular. I run into this guy's named Ben Coombs. He's moderator there, moderator of the Star. He's Canadian too, and he's got his own show on after Pete. Like, all right, well, sub over to that guy. And then here we are, 5 years later.
1 year later, we're spending New Year's together on an offline hang.
21 to 22 was a fun year. That was the Johnny Bean experience. I watching Ben for about 6 months. I'm like, this Boulder Jams guy seems pretty cool. And he does this Metal Wednesday show over on this other channel. Let's go check that out. So I checked that out. Oh, this channel's kind of cool.
I like Johnny Bean until he got that comedian on. And after that, I was like, nope.
I found I was more of a Nesball fan, and rest in peace, Dave. I always said when they split, Dave got me in the divorce.
Right. Yep. And then, here we go. As the YouTube's turn.
But I like channels like this because it's a small community. We all know one another. And, especially at the Buffalo meetings have been great because we get to talk about all this kind of stuff or just life in general.
Right.
Yep.
And, we all kind of have the same opinions about things and lean the same ways.
Well, since we've known each other a long time. Probably do, but with the new handles and stuff, I don't know anybody anymore unless it matches. So I think we do. And I agree.
One dog, that's his channel, is One Dog. I love him.
Yeah.
I'm trying to relearn everybody.
Like I said, I was cruising the YouTubes looking for guitar channels, and Ben's channel showed up one time. You had like 50 subscribers.
Yep.
Not even 50 yet. You were under 50.
Yeah, well, and I remember when you started showing up, like you and Eddie Van Haskell were the first two on my channel that showed up that weren't from like Steve from Boston or Johnny Bean's chat or anybody else's chat, like actual organic boom,
yeah, I found you.
This guy, I got a new guy in my chat. Great. Hey, thanks, Mike. Super chat.
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And
my favorite pedal. Oh, I don't use a lot of pedals.
I'm down to a tuner and an SD1. I got rid of everything. Everybody else out off the bus.
More recent acquisition. I think my King of Tone and I like the best.
If you're a patron or a channel member and you like Water Buffalo meetings, type thank you, Trev, in the chat, because that had been an option for some tiers of patronage and membership since day one, but nobody had bothered to read the fine print and call me out on it. Like, Trev's like, who's here?
What's the deal with this monthly hangout?
Live stream hang thing? And I'm like,
thanks, Trev.
No. I was like, oh no. Yeah, and
come on, you'll like
how's
it.
that going to work? I'm like, I never quite figured. And originally, it was going to be like an unlisted live stream, maybe, And then I thought, well, I could do a certain level, people with StreamYard, and then Charles, our good friend Charles 75N, said, "Well, I got access to professional Zoom. We can host like 100 people there."
Yay.
We were like, "All right, when are we going to do this?" And then we started doing the Water Buffalo meetings.
I remember the first one we did, and there was what 8 of us there or something,
right?
Yeah.
There wasn't very many.
Well, they used to go for 8 or 9 hours too.
Yeah, it used to go all day.
Bo would come and go like half a dozen times throughout the whole stream.
His son got married in between.
Yeah, I'm going to start saying people like, "Oh, I can't show up for the Buffalo meeting. I got plans." Fucking Bo showed up from his son's wedding, all right?
Right.
So I'm just throwing that out there.
I've missed
if Bo can show up and he's in the wedding party, because he was all tuxedo, he had fucking floral arrangements hanging out of his chest or something. I don't know. He was all spiffed up and looking presentable. Did not look like a musician at all. Just saying.
For the real low price of membership, I mean, Buffalo meetings are fun. And it's not all just, here's my guitar.
Yeah, see,
It's great.
That was the funny thing in the early days, Jim. It seemed like every Buffalo meeting was a different theme. Like, here's our strats, and everybody show off their strat, and then Bo would pull out some beautiful fucking strat. That'd be the end of the conversation
Every time.
And then it was PRSs, and then Bo would pull out his vintage 10 top, and that would be the end of that. And then it was Explorers, and I ended up buying
the Arena Explorer.
The theme this week is Harmony Rockets.
Right.
Bring your vintage Harmony Rockets out.
Yeah, they're always a fun time.
Am I the only one who has Harmony Rocket?
Yes.
Oh.
You're the one, because yours is the only one that hasn't folded in half yet.
Yeah, they're pretty cheap. But the pickups are killer.
They are. Yeah, and if you don't know, think back in public television days, the Red Green Show, Possum meeting, same thing.
Yeah,
Kind of same thing.
I can play if I have to.
Michael Carr says, "I showed off my Dana Electro and got banned." Yes. Yeah, you haven't had a membership since, have you?
No wonder you have such terrible luck with the free.
Karma is real.
Patrick Trace has a Harmony Montgomery. Ooh.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
I bought this Harmony Rocket, 20 years ago at a guitar show in Dearborn, Michigan. I was looking for a slide guitar. It didn't work out well as a slide guitar, but it sounded so cool when you're cranking it through a cranked amp that I just kept it. It only cost me like $120. Nice. Now it's worth 5 times that much. People pay stupid money for those things.
Crazy.
I blame the whole expensive, classic, shitty guitars all on fucking Jack White. It's all because of him.
And now he doesn't play shitty guitars anymore.
No! And he hasn't for years. Why? Because he got fucking money, folks.
Yeah. Occasionally he brings out that old piece of junk, but most of the time he's playing those real expensive Gretches.
Yeah. He's good. He's like, I got vintage Gretsch money now, bitches. I'm like, I get it.
I'm not a big fan of his music, but I'm a fan of Jack White. I like the iconoclast attitude he has.
Yeah. He likes to play loud and fucking with attitude.
My cousin did a music festival down in Detroit for, underground music for years and years, and he was a friend of Jack White. He tried to turn me on to the White Stripes when nobody knew who they were, and I kind of went, okay, I don't really see it here, but okay. Apparently I was wrong.
What's that first one? The Seven Nation Army?
Oh no, he goes much further back than that.
But that was his breakout, right? That's the one.
Yeah, when Seven Nation Army was probably when he hit the main consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember hearing that. I'm like, wow, it really sounds like the Stones.
I liked his work with the Raconteurs. I thought that was really good stuff.
Yes.
It's the only Jack White album I have in my collection is the Raconteurs.
Well, that's like the Queens of the Stone Age. It's okay, even Josh Homme. But then you've got them Crooked Vultures. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. I love this Crooked Vulture shit.
John Paul Jones is the bacon of the musical world.
Yeah, he makes everything better.
It makes everything better. It's a cheat code.
Glenn Michael Thompson says, I'm not familiar with Zoom at all. I assume you need a mic and a camera hooked up to the computer. Am I right or wrong with that? You do that, or you can use just a phone to connect.
Use a phone, but you get limited ability to see all of everybody on the panel.
Yeah, it is best definitely on a computer system where you can go full gallery mode, where you can see up to 25 people on a single screen. It
defaults to kind of the old Google Hangouts mode where whoever's talking gets highlighted.
Look at you dating yourself, Trev.
Yeah,
what are you dating yourself?
Really
the only way I know that is from watching your old shows, man.
If you have a microphone, you can participate in the voice part of it. Nobody can see you, but you can see everybody else that has a camera.
Yeah, and there's the place where you can type in messages.
Yeah. Computer's the way to fly for the...
And there is always a few people that will show up without a camera and just sit there muted. They're just kind of in the background, listening, lurking. Chris.
Totally cool. If you're shy and you want to sit on the
We'll turn the camera on if you mock them hard enough.
How did Kurt Cobain get people to buy cheap Japanese guitars? He played mostly cheap Fenders, the Mustangs. And,
yeah, he played American guitars.
Yeah, he didn't play cheapo Japanese guitars.
But maybe the people who saw him playing those guitars bought wire versions. Never held Kurt Cobain in the regards of being a guitarist, even though he played.
I think his songs were interesting. I don't think he was a great.
He was a songwriter better than he was a singer.
Yeah, he wrote interesting.
I never got on the Nirvana. I mean, I was all. You want to go Seattle scene? I'm all about the Soundgarden.
I did see it as a right there. I was in grade 12 when that whole thing happened, and it literally went from everybody's trying to learn the next fucking shredder. It was all almost a competition. Boom, boom, boom. And I remember you'd be sitting in the hall, and regardless if you had a guitar in your hand, it'd be like, "Hey, can you play Eruption? Hey, can you play Eruption?" And then all of a sudden one day it was, "Hey, can you play Smells Like Teen Spirit?" And I'm like,
no.
"Yes." Will you? No.
Guess maybe.
But I saw that like with punk, it kind of reset things, and
But again, it's that just play something stupid concept where you spend all this time and effort writing these beautiful masterpieces of music, and they're like, and you just put something stupid together, and people latch onto it, and it's the next greatest thing. Repetitive, not complex, something you can stomp your foot to.
If you ask me, Nirvana wasn't going anywhere until Dave Grohl joined. He kicked that band up a notch.
He's a pretty much next level musical person. I mean,
but I think his drumming,
guitar, songwriting, singing. He's a really cool guy. He's
like you better that. Whoa! Who hits drums that hard? Easy.
I like Black Flag.
Ooh.
Never got into Black Flag.
I saw one on the Twitter machine earlier.
I tried. I can't.
Something about a TV party. I think that song was called TV Party. I watched a little clip on X. That was a different kind of thing too. That whole Sex Pistols punk.
I'm reading Dave Grohl's autobiography right now. Storyteller or something like that. Got it for $3 on my Kindle reader.
Cool. I bet that's a cool story.
He's got some good stories in there.
Read a lot of biographies over the years and never regretted it. Two of my faves was Willie Nelson's, which was like a fucking encyclopedia.
Right.
And Kenny Rogers was a wild story.
I read a lot of rock biographies. It's just something I enjoy. I've always read them.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody puts out a good book, chances are I'm going to read it. But there's so many. I mean, good Lord. Just about everybody's written a good book.
For me, the Ramones were the punk band, in my opinion. It was all derivative of the Ramones in many ways. But that's just my opinion.
I like the Ramones. I mean, they're a little limited. I can't sit and listen to the Ramones all day.
Right.
But I can listen to their greatest hits album, and it's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the Babies. I can't listen to their albums, but their greatest hits, the best of the Babies, is actually a freaking great album.
Rob liked X. Never got into X either.
Yeah,
X was never the replacement.
Richard showing his Minnesota roots, saying Husker Du and Replacements are his roots. Ramones are like pop punk. Fuck no. Pop punk is poser punk. They were the first.
Not to go Canadiana on you, but of course we had your DOAs and your Dayglow abortions and your
Seeing them Dayglow I did not see. They came through not too long ago.
Beat us? What?
But I listened. I've got 2 or 3 Dayglow abortions cassettes upstairs.
Right.
DOA I saw the other night. Joey Shithead was fucking 4 feet in front of me, slobbering all over my shoes. because that's as far as the saliva. No, that guy. It was so funny, Jim, because I'm like, okay, so iconic punk band, right? And he's got fucking Marshall half-stack, not even facing the crowd, facing across the stage, sideways, right next to him. So I guess so he can hear it. Boss tuner just sitting on top of the head, and a hand towel. And I'm like, all right. And so he does a song, just playing his SG, just slob, blah, blah, blah. Ends the song, bang. Fist smacks down the tuner to mute the signal, grabs a towel, wipes his face, towel down, smacks the tuner into the next song. Song ends, smacks the tuner, grabs a towel, wipes down the face, and I'm just like, this is awesome!
There's the mute switch.
Hey, Six String Stoney. Misfits. Buddy of mine opened for the Misfits once or twice. I like Buck Cherry. I didn't really think Buck Cherry is punk, but it's punk leaders. Zach likes Sum 41, showing his age. Pop punk. That's pop punk. You're from fucking Ajax. There's no hard streets of Ajax. It's not even downtown core. It's a suburb community. Yeah.
I like a lot of different music. I have a low threshold of boredom. I can't sit and listen to the same thing all the time. I need variety.
That's why deep cuts for me. It's all
back when I was in college. I was a member of a fraternity, and the room I was living in the fraternity house, they played Led Zeppelin every day, all day for a year.
I've been listening to a lot of Led Zeppelin lately.
And I still like Led Zeppelin, but I didn't need Led Zeppelin 24/7 for a year.
Yesterday was Physical Graffiti.
Nice. I'm listening to Seattle 1972 in my car right now.
Ooh.
I collected all the bootlegs. I've got about every known live Led Zeppelin concert.
Now, are those burned on CD, or you got a stick?
And most of them are from low-gen sources. I was connected into the Led Zeppelin collector community for a good 10 years, and I knew most of the people who had the good stuff.
Right.
I still listen to it all the time. When I grab a stack of CDs from my car, there's always a live Led Zeppelin show in the stack. Gotta have it.
Bo was going to see Richie Kotzen and John 5.
That'll be
so you're going to school on Thursday, is what you're saying. That's going to school.
Yeah.
I saw Richie Kotzen with what's that band he had with shit.
I saw him at Cosmo Music Fest in 2018. His own band he was fronting. I was like, cool.
I had no idea who he was until he was on Pete Thorne's channel.
Crazy.
Really? You didn't know who Richie Kotzen was?
No.
I'd always know who he was. I couldn't tell you any of his music until a few. Winery Dogs, Hip mentions.
Yeah, I saw Winery Dogs.
Thank you, Hip.
They were loud. Holy fuck, were they loud.
Well, that makes sense.
Might be. Yeah, that is good. Yeah, 10 Years Gone, Page with Black Crows last night. That whole Live at the Great.
I saw Page with Black Crows 4 times. I was there opening night in at the Roseland Ballroom in New York City in 1999.
They're throwing you a birthday bash. How big a tipper is Bo that a venue is throwing him a birthday party, Trev?
Well, keeping in mind that Bo doesn't drink. So, I mean, how many what do you have, Bo? Bo would strike me as being the guy who just goes there and drinks water for
Who knows? We have a lot of questions on Wednesday, Bo. Put a pin in that one, Trev.
Kotzen got most of his recognition from the time he spent in Poison. Yep. That's where a lot of people.
And there may have been some inadvertent crossover in the history of my music thing, where I was exposed to Kotzen, didn't know who he was, didn't really matter because I was never really a Poison guy.
Yeah, he did that, and then he did a stint with Mr. Big as well.
Yeah.
See,
I think he was found out by that
Mr. Big,
the guy who found all the metal people for that magazine.
Mm-hmm.
first thought. I wonder if Jim saw this live. Who's that?
Anybody?
Oh, watch 10 Years Gone. I wasn't at the Los Angeles show that they released the tape from. I was at the first 2 shows in New York, and then I saw them 3 times the next summer with Kenny Wayne Shepherd opening.
Nice. I have a concert DVD of them from a live show in San Francisco, I want to say. Couldn't tell you what year.
What, Jimmy Page and the Black Crowes?
No, just the Black Crowes.
Oh, okay.
I've always been a fan of Black Crowes because after Georgia Satellites, I went, oh, this is a breath of fresh air.
I've seen the Black Crowes.
Bruce Rock.
Probably a dozen.
And then when they hired the Canadian keyboard player to fill out the sound, I'm like, now it's good.
Yes, I saw Page Plant 7 times. I go to concerts.
I have a bunch of Black Crowes albums somewhere, 4 or 5. I think I ended up buying the first 4 or 5 albums or something like that.
I like to go to concerts, and I always will. So even though they're expensive these days, I can find other. I find inexpensive shows.
Right. It's the casino ones, right? The casino shows where you got a band who was pretty big in the 80s or 90s or even 70s, but they don't have a huge following anymore. Like, you can still go see
they're bands that
still $100 a night, but in the grand scheme of concert tickets in today's market,
and you get to sit down.
If you're going to the machine shop, you've got
newer bands that most people don't know. So but I kind of plugged into the new music coming out that I like. Right. You know, the rock music still, not this.
Yeah, like for me, Trev. No, other note. We have a restored theater here in town. I don't know, seats 600-700 people.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, that's what I want. You know, it's that last waltz vibe. Like, that's what I want. I want to sit down in a comfy, padded fucking chair. You know, we'll get up for a couple of songs. Yay, a little bit, maybe. But I want to be able to sit there.
Drinking a $15 beer.
Like, seeing April Wine on a stage like that was fucking amazing.
I saw April Wine.
I could reach out and grab them.
From the barricade right in front of.
The Stampeders were a good concert there too, Trev. Just saying.
Yeah, I bet it was.
You know, they have a much deeper catalog than you realize.
Anymore, I thought they broke up.
Who?
Spin Doctors.
Oh, good question.
Spin Doctors. I don't think they're doing anything anymore.
I don't think they're doing anything either anymore.
That was kind of one of those flash in the pan, kind of like New Bohemians.
Jesus Jones. Whatever happened to Jesus Jones with it?
He's not right here or right now.
No.
Yeah. I remember when the Spin Doctors came out, there was a term for that type of music, and it was like, this is a new genre, you know, like grunge is over, now it's this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then I never heard the term ever uttered again.
Is it though?
I'm like, I don't think it is.
Well, that's about the same time.
Dab there for a while. There's a lot of
at that time. And the Crash Test Dummies.
Yeah.
All those bands kind of came out right around that same time.
Right.
That's the last concert I went to was Crash Test Dummies. That was, and again, deeper catalog than I remember, like of hits, like not just, oh, this is a nice song. It's like, oh yeah, I remember this song. Apparently, know half the fucking lyrics to it.
Yes, I know Edie married Paul Simon. Yes, I'm aware of that.
Music for people who like hacky sax. Yes.
That was a thing.
Kind of a long description, don't you think?
Yeah.
Was that mid-90s?
But apropos. It does really kind of stick there. Yeah.
What kind of music does your radio station play? Yeah. Well, we're officially billed as music for people who like playing hacky sax.
Early mid-90s, you had your Smashing Pumpkins, you had your Hole, you had your...
I saw...
of course, were making some traction at the time.
I saw Lita Ford last year, and they were running all fractals.
Yeah. Well, I reference John DeShane again. He uses the fractal into his head first, and that's a thing. Mm-hmm. Metallica's all fractals into power amps because you don't have to fuck around. It just goes.
Well, one thing I see is, especially for bands who do fly dates, having a sophisticated pedal board into... You know, you can request a backline that's just a clean amp. You can get a Marshall or a Fender. It's pretty hard to beat that.
And most acts are fly-ins.
Yeah.
Today's world. and
Touring's
like
expensive. What is it? Like $2,000?
it's like
per bus?
like I know a few pro guitar players, and they're lucky if they bring a guitar and maybe a pedal board or slash a fractal or something to that effect, and backline amp provided, which you're hoping most of the time. I feel sorry for the fucking drummers. Like, they get to bring sticks.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, last time this summer when I was working, they requested sticks.
I can see Matt in my mind's eye pointing to his quad.
They brought a towel.
And I know a few drummers that are into gear, and those guys collect snare drums like we fucking collect overdrive pedals. Like, they'll have maybe 4 or 5 complete kits, Jim, but they got fucking 30 snare drums.
I know.
Right?
At $500 a piece.
Yeah.
Right? All the flavors.
Zach, like the Electric Circus on Much Music. I can see that.
Much Music was really a Canadian thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was our MTV because we didn't have MTV in Canada.
It came to America for a little while, and then it disappeared. I liked it. They had good songs on it.
It was great.
It
really, like Trev and I have discussed it again. It really boosted the Canadian music scene as a national scene from the mid 80s, because it used to be a pay-per-view channel, and then it became just part of extended cable package, and then everybody had it. And like they put out compilation CDs, like they do a rock CD, they do a dance music CD.
What was the Battle of the Bands? They had a different name for it, but it was there every year. There was the competition where the different smaller bands could mail in their demos, and they would get picked, and then they would do a showdown. And
and they had no problem playing, like, to break a band. Like, if you had a decent song and an okay video, boom, you're on. Especially they would do late night, like what was it, City Limits, Trev, on Friday nights.
Yeah.
Which was great. Oh, that was where you would hear your Sonic Youth, your Dinosaur Jr., all the offsets. They were playing offset guitars, make a lot of noise, but then you catch some really cool shit that you wouldn't see elsewhere.
What year did the CanCon law come in? 74?
Been around forever.
It was early to mid 70s that came in, because they saw how we could easily get absorbed into the American music scene to the point where, like, and it would just be so much that we could never break a band because we just don't have the influence or the demographic population.
Oh, I think it's been great for music as a whole. Look at all the bands that have come out of Canada.
Great. Yeah, and certain bands, you get overplayed, like, still to this day, which is fine, but it did grow this whole subculture that was parallel, where whether or not you broke big south of the border. If you did, yay! If you didn't, And it's always interesting is to find out what bands broke and what bands didn't, because we don't know, really, to a certain extent, like certain people, is they were just huge, and it's just in the ether space. But it's like Honeymoon Suite, Trev. You're like, did they break there or not? They did in certain markets.
Yeah,
so they actually play.
Chilliwack.
Well, and good old Chilliwack. I mean, there's the Triumphs and the Rushes, of course, that have obviously made their impact. And more modernly, we've got our Blue Blaze and our McLaughlins and our fucking Anne Murrays, and you had your Joni Mitchells, and you had there's lots. It goes pretty deep when you really start looking at it. But I'm going to date myself again and reference Warren Moon, the best quarterback in the CFL in 1985.
Yeah,
and he gets drafted to the Houston Oilers, and you never heard of him ever again.
Big money.
The Canadian Football League, I mean, is a thing if you're Canadian.
Well, and that was right when salary started getting, because around that time the CFL paid about the same as the NFL, and then all of a sudden into the 80s it boomed with new TV package. And
Doug Flutie, there's another one. Doug Flutie, huge in the CFL, just whatever when he went to the NFL.
Yeah, he had pretty good years in Buffalo, though.
Yeah,
he did
at the end of his career.
Yeah,
after he played literally, I think, for every CFL team it seemed.
But let's face it, the reason Warren Moon was stuck in Canada in the CFL was not because he was not a good quarterback in college. It was because he was black. Hey, it's true. America is a racist place.
I won't argue with it.
And particularly then, there were no black quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yes, Zach Thong brings out, big band internationally now, Bare Naked Ladies. They used to go down to Speaker's Corner. And what it was, Jim, was because Much Music was on the corner of Queen Street and John Street in Toronto. Literally, in the corner of the building, it was a little camera, and you put in a $1 coin, and you would create a 1-minute video.
Yeah, 1 minute.
And
Mike Myers was? Mike Myers.
And on City TV originally, it wasn't even on Much Music yet. Originally, it was on City TV, which was in the same building. They'd have a half-hour show each week called Speaker's Corner. And people would go through and they'd find the funniest thing and every, out of like up and coming comedian would go and, hey, do a minute's worth of material and stuff. But then the Bare Naked Ladies would show up with a 1 or 2 acoustic guitars and they'd all pile into this little booth and play a little ditty for a minute. And like they went and did like Be My Yoko Ono. And people were like, what the fuck kind of song is Be My Yoko Ono?
I like the first album. Gordon was a fantastic album.
It was great. And that's how they kind of broke. And then they did the black and white video for the cover of Lovers in a Dangerous Time. And that broke them, essentially, at least in Canada. And then they brought out the first album, Gordon, which is after they brought it. I still have their demo cassette. It's the same album on EP on both sides of the cassette. I don't have the case for it. There he is. Is that you, Steve?
There he is.
Steve.
Would you fall asleep?
Mm-hmm.
No, he doesn't want to listen to me drone on.
Don't forget about the half and halves, like Heart. Technically from Seattle, but they had Mushroom Studios and did most of their work in Canada. So
they took off to Canada because
Fisher's husband was
Yes, well, that's the same reason you had Rick James and Neil Young in a band together in Yorkville. Because Rick didn't want to fight in the war either, so he left Detroit and came to Toronto.
What a strange combination.
Right? Well, turns out they were doing like rhythm and blues covers. Because they both dug that shit back in the day.
The Minor Birds.
Yeah.
I've only ever heard one song by them, the one on Decade, where he plays that one. Mm-hmm. Probably out on the Neil Young archives. Have you ever visited the Neil Young archives on the web?
Oh, yeah, big in Vancouver because he got us a couple Grey Cups. Grey Cups are
super. Too. Yeah. That's why it was like, how would it be competitive in the CFL? You just signed Doug Flutie to a 1-year contract, and all of a sudden you're competitive.
Well, Flutie's biggest problem is he was short. And the NFL didn't want him because they didn't believe he was tall enough to play quarterback. And it turned out to be a definite problem for him. He just was good enough to overcome it.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a great NFL quarterback. He had a couple good years with Buffalo. But for the most part, he wasn't the best.
So, like he was the big fish in the CFL.
Yeah.
Yep.
But, he was competitive.
Warren Moon was good in college. He was great in the CFL and he was great in the NFL. But the reason he didn't end up in the NFL to start with is because the NFL had a belief that black quarterbacks were not as good as white quarterbacks.
Had to be the homecoming king.
And that's not something I just,
Called it. Steve was asleep.
It was well documented that they just wouldn't play black quarterbacks.
See how it This is just a little sample of what happens at a Buffalo meeting. Now imagine there's 20 people and we're taking left turns and going deep field. Warren Moon. How did we end up? That's my fault. I digress.
Fucking Alberta boy.
I was a Stampeders fan. That's where I was born, man. We hated it. That rivalry between Edmonton and Calgary is fierce.
Yeah, I know. We have the same thing with Toronto and Montreal.
But there was nothing better in the CFL ever than the Rough Riders versus the Rough Riders for a fucking Grey Cup game. Yeah. Saskatchewan and Ottawa Rough Riders.
Yep.
Sounds like a bunch of condoms playing.
Speaking of which, fun fact: to the CFL Grey Cup was today. I don't know who won.
Today?
Yep.
Here we go.
It's Grey Cup Sunday, which
In
means
Winnipeg.
the
Which
anniversary of
weather like
the
in Winnipeg
rock
today?
concert. I went to see
Stadium.
Alice in Chains, and I was freezing my ass off standing in t-shirt and jeans, waiting to get into the venue while my buddies were inside a bar watching the Grey Cup, drinking beer, warming up. Bastards. So, well, we'll definitely have to do this again. We hit 2 hours just like that. Holy crap! Awesome. My back is still fucking killing me. This is not good. There's that. I'm going to be back tomorrow with Canucks with Guitars. We're definitely going to have Jim back on for another episode because that's what we do. I'm going to play some music. Oh, yeah, I learned 1 or 2 Bad Company riffs because people like, you keep wearing a Bad Company shirt. You learn some riffs by them. So what I did, Jim, is I watched a documentary on Bad Company and watched Mick Ralph's left hand. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah.
Fun. Sweet.
If you want to play Bad Company, you got to learn his tuning. He has that open C tuning that he did so much stuff in.
That too. So, yes. I don't know what's coming out for
Thank
demos
you, Chris.
this week. I have 1 demo in the can. I got to shoot some more. It's probably going to be acoustics because my back is screwed up still. Yay.
Tomorrow, bad album covers.
And then
with Dark Rob.
Yeah. I'll play some tunes. It'll be fun.
Jammins.
I'm back. Join the fun.
Then Wednesday, we got a Buffalo meeting.
And we got a Buffalo meeting this Wednesday.
So if you're watching on replay, you can join after the fact. You'll still get the notification when the show comes. You don't have to join during the live.
Yeah. Yeah, click that join button regardless or whenever. Or
yeah, you just want to hang out.
A patron is just as actually.
Yeah. Patron's better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I already got a new patron this month, Trev. I hope for 1 new patron a month, and I got one. So yay!
Yay!
So on that note, yes, hold the line, guys. Hold those doors open, folks. I don't know. Let Cushman in ahead in traffic. Fucking New York traffic. Oofed him, eh?
Yeah, I'd let him in.
Yeah. Be good to each other. Happy tone chasing because karma is real. Be good to each other, yes, and all that. And of course, as always, don't litter. Just don't.